about patriotism. But does it make you less of a Filipino kung hangarin mong magkaroon ng mas magandang edukasyon? Does it make you less of a Filipino if you aspire to be competitive and teach our future generation and give them that opportunity na sa ngayon ay nakakamit lang ng mga mayayaman dito sa Pilipinas? Masakit yan, Mr. Chairman, because I would have wanted to go to these universities. But as a product of a public school teacher, my parents cannot afford that. Kaya wag na nating lisin ang usapan ng economic chacha in terms of education. When we open up the Philippines, it is simply because gusto ng current administrasyon na maramdaman ng bawat Pilipino ang kakayahan na ngayon ay pinapakinabangan lang ng iilang mga mayayaman. Pasensya na, Mr. Chair, ako'y Bisaya, medyo mahirap yung aking Tagalog. Let me move forward to my next question, again addressed to my two good friends from DepEd. I'm getting confused, Mr. Chair, because apparently the position paper of the Department of Education points to an objection of the proposed measure, not because of the quality of education, but it's more so because of their concern that this is a national security concern. Do I get that right, Mr. Chair? Distinguished resource persons?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Chair. Before proceeding to the current question, we would like to distinguish that the mandate of DepEd is for basic education, Madam Chair, and the objection of DepEd is for the basic education provisions. Insofar as the tertiary level, the higher ed, the DepEd did not raise a position on this, Madam Chair. So if the, and we will leave it at that, ma'am. As far as the question on security concerns.
Yes, my question, if that cannot be taken out from my time, kasi I'll just reiterate my question. Yung tanong ko po, bakit po tila ang position paper ng DepEd ay ayaw nila ang economic chacha or ang pagbubukas ng edukasyon sa ating mga possible foreign investors? It's because of national security concern. I'm getting confused on that, so maybe you can educate me.
If I may, Madam Chair, again, this is only for basic education, K-12.
Yes, but let's move forward to my question. What is the relationship between opening out, let's say we have here British School Manila, we have here International School Manila, and you were saying that in basic education, opening the Philippines will be a matter of national security concern. Bakit po? What is the umbilicus? Ano po ang kadugtong sa basic education and national security?
If I may, Madam Chair, the objection is general in nature to the possibility that legislation may open up basic education institutions without sufficient regulation of government, Madam Chair.
Pasensya na po, Mr. Chair, distinguished colleagues. Yusek, I salute your institution, pero tila po, bilang representante ng kagawaran ng edukasyon, hindi po namin naiintindihan on how you can educate us between the relationship of basic education and possible investors, possible opening up as compared to that of national security. Medyo salungat po eh. Ano po ang relasyon? Tumbukin po natin. So with that, Mr. Chair, pasensya na po, so with the interest of time, let it be on record that the representative from DepEd cannot justify their claim that this RBH 7 will serve as a national security threat. Tama po ba? Let me move forward to your next claim. Ang sabi niyo po dito, this will lead to a dilution of the fundamental aspects of Filipino identity, culture, and values to be taught. And again, you mentioned worse, endanger national security. Kaya hindi ko po naiintindihan, Mr. Chair, na kung papasok dito ang mga, let's say, high standard na mga schools, is that this will be a security threat. Because for one, they will be training Filipino professors. Ang tanong ko po, Dilution of fundamental aspects of Filipino identity, culture, and values to be taught. Ano po ba ang nangyari sa mga Pilipino naging produkto ng international schools dito sa Pilipinas? Marami ba sa kanila yung nabuntis? Marami ba sa kanila yung hindi nag-aral na? Marami ba sa kanila yung huminto na sa pagiging Pilipino? May I again propound that question to DepEd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are just concerned, Mr. Chair, that the basic education lays the foundation for the very young learners. And we know that at this formative age or formative stage of education, this is the best way by which we can inculcate among our young learners patriotism and nationalism. So it is more of our concern sa curriculum that is being offered by the Department of Education now that is focused on patriotism and nationalism, which is the direction of the new curriculum as well. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, distinguished colleagues, I fully respect Filipino culture. For one, I had my first communion with Pope John Paul II. At lumaki po akong pumapasok araw-araw sa simbahan bilang manunugtog. And mind you, I cannot see that the morals and values that were inculcated before in our schools are being sustained now, because of the influence of social media. Kaya nga po, Mr. Chair, nakakalungkot man. Ang dami nating teenage pregnancies. Ang daming mga problema sa kabataan na bata pa, minor pa, elementary or high school, nasa isabong na at nagsusugal na. These are all internal problems that the Department of Education should address. How many dropouts are we having? These are problems that should be addressed by the Department of Education. We should not dilute this issue by incorporating or linking it with RBH 7. Kasi masama mang aminin, bakit pabata ng pabata ang ating teenage mothers? Bakit ang dami nating mga kabataan na tila ngayon para sa kanila ay normal lang yung uminom at magsigarilyo at a very young age? Is it not a failure of how we are inculcating morals and values among our Filipino children? But this is another matter. Let me move forward, Mr. Chair. Earlier, ang sabi ng ating kalihim, a representative from the Department of Education, pwede naman po. Kaya lang, itong mga international schools is only open to foreign dignitaries and their dependents via legislation. My God, Mr. Chair, nandito tayo sa Pilipinas. Tumutungtong tayo sa ating lupang sinilangan, ang ating pinakamamahal na Pilipinas. Why are we giving exemption na kapag ikaw ay foreigner, kapag ikaw ay anak ng ambassador, kapag ikaw ay anak ng isang foreign dignitary, pwede kang mag-international school. Pero kapag ikaw ay Pilipino, kapag ikaw ay pinanganak sa Pilipinas, kapag ikaw ay ordinaryong Pilipinong mamamayan, at hindi ka anak ng foreigner, ay hindi ka makakapag-aral sa mga ganitong school. Mr. Chair, can I get the wisdom of the Department of Education in situations like this?
Representative Garin, your time is up. That will be your last question. The representative from DepEd, you may respond.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if I'll be
thank you.
given 1 minute extension, I'll be having my last question after the
Okay.
answer.
Yep, thank you.
Last minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The requirement providing an exception under the current Constitution for foreign dignitaries is really in the Constitution already, Madam Chair. This means that they have limited regulation by the Department
Mr.
of
Chair,
Education.
if I may, please don't take it out from my time. Ulitin ko yung tanong ko. Ang tanong ko ay napakasimple. Kasi you can actually suggest amendments to laws and regulations. Ang tanong ko, why are we giving special attention and privilege to children of dignitaries? Kapag ikaw ay anak ng ambassador, kapag ikaw ay anak ng foreigner, kapag ikaw ay anak ng executive ng WHO, ADB, pwede kang mag-aral sa international school. International schools are being set up at no profit to cater to the children of these foreigners. But the talented and intelligent Filipino children are scrapped. Hindi binibigyan ng pagkakataon na ito. Ano po ba ang rationale sa pananaw ng DepEd? Kailangan bang buksan natin ito?
Madam Chair, the presence of international schools in the Philippines are all created by legislation, and in their charters, there are provisions there that would also allow Filipino learners to enroll in these international schools.
Kaya nga, Mr. Chair, my question can be answered with a yes or no. Sa pananaw niyo po ba, is it fair to say that this is only open to the rich and it's only open to the expats, or hindi ba dapat ito ay ibigay sa lahat ng Pilipino na kaya academically or intellectually ang ganitong klase ng mga school? Di ba? So my last question, Mr. Chair. Ang sabi natin, makakasama sa Pilipinas. Hindi po ba pag maraming schools at pupunta dito kasama ang mga banyaga, just like what's happening to Vietnam and even Thailand and Malaysia and Indonesia, is it not that this will boost our economy? Hindi po ba kaakibat ng pag-aaral, magkakaroon yan ng galaw? Gagalaw yung mga jeep, gasolina, tricycle, maraming boarding house, maraming iba pa. And mind you, how about the global best practices? What does DepEd and CHED say on this? Dahil po ba ang ating hinaing ay purely Filipino tayo, how can we improve and how can we compete in this globally competitive world? Because Mr. Chair, pasensya na po, I do
Yeah.
respect all their
Representative
inputs,
Garin.
but let me state in ending by saying, we cannot live in hypocrisy, Mr. Chairman. Because if we remain as hypocrites, saying na ang Pilipinas ay para lamang sa Pilipino, tayo po ay lulubog. Kasi ang katotohanan, karamihan sa atin dito ay palaging nag-a-abroad, nagbabakasyon abroad, nagpapaaral ng mga anak abroad. Gustong-gusto natin ang competitive standards abroad because we want to be more competitive. Mr. Chair, distinguished resource persons, that is not our prerogative only. That is a prerogative that should be given to every Filipino child or to every Filipino professional because they're all our brothers and sisters. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair, and
Okay.
may I have the response of, again, our good colleague from CHED, from DepEd, and Mr. Dumdum from Correct.
Okay, that will be the last question of Representative Garin.
A representative from DepEd is being requested for a response.
The representative from DepEd for your response.
Mr. Chair, we agree that education is important. We agree that economic development is important, but these have to be studied carefully, and it's really a balancing act. The concern of the Department of Education is to restrict the ownership of foreign private schools only to the levels currently prevailing in the Constitution.
CHED, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Dumdum.
The CHED chairman, you may respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Commission has always been stating that internationalization of higher education is necessary. In fact, we have been aggressively encouraging our higher education institutions to internationalize. And in the last report of Times Higher Education Impact Ranking, they said the Philippines was the most aggressive in terms of higher education institutions subjecting themselves to the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking. From one school in 2019, 60 Philippine schools subjected themselves to the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking last year. That is our commitment as a commission, and there is no question in higher ed that that is necessary, Madam Chair, and Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any more? Yeah,
Mr.
Dumdum.
Dumdum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we are able to bring in more, if we are able to bring in foreign educational institutions, particularly for higher education, I think it will be possible for scholarships to become available to deserving very good students, highly gifted, academically gifted students from Filipino families that may be economically disadvantaged. And I think this should allow them to have that same competitive edge that students coming from rich backgrounds are able to have when their rich parents are able to send them abroad to study. So if we can have these foreign universities or foreign institutions of higher learning actually come into the Philippines, it would really be a huge addition to the number of options that Filipino students will have. Thank you very much.
Okay. Floor leader.
Mr. Chair, may I move that we now recognize the representative of ACT Teachers Party List, the Honorable Franz Castro, for her interpellation.
The chair would like to recognize Representative Franz Castro.
Thank
Please
you,
proceed.
Mr. Chair. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat, sa ating mga resource person na dumalo dito sa ating hearing on the Committee of the Whole on the amending the Constitution. Mr. Chair, ito po itanong ko sa mga sponsor ng RB 87. Mr. Chair, so does RB 87 want to open up all education institutions to foreign control and ownership aside from yung sa sinasabing mga missionary schools and others po? So, ang ibig bang sabihin, Mr. Chair, dito po sa panukala natin, for all levels from basic education up to tertiary education. Sir Chair. Majority Floor Leader, ang tanong ko po sa sponsors.
Floor leader.
May we ask for the response of anyone from the resource persons, from the DepEd?
No, my question, Majority Floor Leader, is for our sponsors.
Mr. Chair, I believe we need a response only from our resource persons, not from the sponsors. May I have a 1-minute
No,
suspension?
I am clarifying the proposal, Mr. Okay.
Ano daw?